Hi, this is Amarillo here, bringing you guys a SPL NU recorded battle against Finchinator and Teddeh, both really good players. And let's start with the team preview. Finch has Sock, Sneasel, Mantine, Steelix, Uxie, and Miltank. Might be wrong, but I mean, looking at the team preview, like Sock is obviously banded because that's his best set. Sneasel could be whatever. Mantine is most definitely physically defensive, given that he has no real good switch-ins to fighting types otherwise. Steelix is probably his Stealth Rock setter. Uxie is Calm Mind 3 attack set, because you can see that Finch did his homework, because every game Teddeh's played so far, like, he is very weak to Calm Mind 3 attack pixies, like Calm Mind Uxie, Calm Mind Mesprit, that type of deal. So he did his homework, and this is going to be a massive threat to Teddeh's team. Miltank is probably especially defensive, given that he doesn't have a good way to deal with Heliolisk otherwise. I mean, given that like his Stealth Rocks are probably on Steelix, it's probably some kind of curse set. I mean, it could be offensive, but like I don't know, man. Like Miltank is pretty rare, so props to him for using that. Heliolisk, Teddeh has Heliolisk, Garbodor, Malamar, Mesprit, Lairon, and Feraligatr. So Feraligatr is probably a Dragon Dance Feraligatr, given that he has no real switches to Heliolisk. He's like relatively weak to Heliolisk, to be fair. So like, I don't think he'll be using a Swords Dance Feraligatr with a team that doesn't have a a way to reliably exploit the Heliolisk, which is a thing. Yeah, it's a big threat in NU, so like I don't see why he would use the Swords Dance set. Lairon is probably some kind of custom berry, like some kind of like Metal Coat, Endeavor, Stealth Rock type of set. And Mesprit is probably his Scarfer. Malamar is probably the standard Rest Talk set. Garbodor, it could be the Toxic Plate offensive set, like with enough like EVs to 2-hit KO Xatu switch-ins, which is like, I think that's a pretty good set, and that's been the tourney set for Garbodors, like the more offensive Garbodor. So Finch might be expecting that, but I think Teddeh's running the more standard Rocky Helmet set, because I think that's what he normally runs, and mispredicting the set might make Finch make some bad decisions there. So let's get started with the battle. Finch brings in Sneasel, and Teddeh brings in Lairon, and the Lairon is probably the Metal Burst set, but Teddeh goes for the Metal Burst because low kick would knock him out here. But Finch is a good player. He's not gonna fall for that type of deal. Like, so it's good that this dumb set. I don't know what he's running on Lairon with his last move slot. It could be like I actually don't know like what he's running, but it could be a lot of different things, but there's nothing much he can do, so they just trade rocks. And Finch already saw the Metal Burst, so that's why he goes for the Heavy Slam instead of the Earthquake. It's a good play, and he's going to take out this Lairon. And that's good because now the Calm Mind Uxie has a field day with Teddeh's team, like it's such a huge threat right now. I don't exactly know how Teddeh's gonna beat that. So Teddeh goes in for the kill with the Malamar. I'm not sure if he knew that this wouldn't KO, because it has a very slim chance of knocking out the Steelix at this range of HP. So, but he goes for it anyways. So he's gonna take a lot of damage with the Malamar, and that could potentially come in relevant later in the game, but not for now, because going for the 2 superpowers here will make him so that neither Sneasel nor Sock could take out the Malamar in one hit. So Finch is forced it to go into his Uxie here and go for the Signal Beam. That's the only correct play, and there isn't much Teddeh can do about that, so that's all around a good position Finch is in. He goes for the switch into the Feraligatr, because that's the only thing that can take the attack from Uxie and do significant damage back. Signal Beam gets a crit confusion. That's kind of a bummer but like at the end it didn't really matter, but it's still annoying. Like and Finch makes the correct play of not attacking here and putting Feraligatr awkwardly into that torrent range, and goes for the Calm Mind. So while Teddeh goes for the Dragon Dance. So Teddeh's gonna get a strong enough of a hit with the Waterfall, but Uxie is going to be knocking him out clean with the Grass Knot, actually. And so yeah, this is actually a really good position Finch is in. Like, Heliolisk can't knock out Uxie at this range. His Scarf Mesprit is probably special, because that's what I've seen him run recently. And here Finch makes the prediction that Teddeh will go into the Volt Switch into the Mesprit and knock him out with U-turn. So he makes the safer play of going for the Signal Beam. Signal Beam does like significant enough of damage to Heliolisk anyways. So even though it didn't end up working out for him, it wasn't a terrible play for him. He goes into his Miltank here, choosing to keep Uxie as a potential sack, or maybe if like keeping Uxie could help him knock out Malamar if it ends up coming to that sort of end game scenario where Malamar is Teddeh's last Pokemon. And Miltank takes the Hyper Voice like a champ, so that is most definitely like some specially defensive set. And Teddeh goes for the Volt Switch here, and Finch goes for the Earthquake on the switch into Mesprit. So that obviously shows like he could have gone for Milk Drink. He could have gone for like a normal stab, but I mean, he probably expected the Malamar switch in. He didn't want no, not Malamar switch in. Sorry, I mean the Garbodor switch in. He didn't want Garbodor getting a lot of hazards up. So that's why he went for the Earthquake. So even though like it didn't end up working out for him, like that wasn't a terrible play, because he realizes what's more important. Like the HP on Miltank isn't as important as keeping Garbodor out and not letting it get hazards up. And Meltank dies to Psychic, but that's fine because Sneasel can come in, hit something hard with a knockoff. Whatever comes in is going to be taking a ton of damage. And I think, yeah, Teddeh goes for the Garbodor, and that would be a correct play, except, I mean, I think that was the right play to make, except that Finch reveals Bandit Sneasel, and that does a hell of a lot of damage to Garbodor, and to it KOs him, and this is like really good for Finch. Like, I think he has this one in the bag at this point in the game. And even though Scarf Mesprit comes in to try to revenge kill the Sneasel, like, he's just gonna switch out. Finch goes for the sack on Uxie. Goes into Uxie, takes a U-turn, whatever. It's whatever. So yeah, I mean, and he comes into, Teddeh goes into U-turns out, and Teddeh U-turns chooses to go into Heliolisk. And here, Finch has 100% win, bar, like he doesn't even know, like, need to know what set Teddeh's running with the Scarf Mesprit, like, as long as he doesn't get, like, a series of, like, unfortunate, like, Thunderbolt paralysis, full paralysis, or massive strings of crits and special defense drops, or whatever, like, that's the only way Teddeh can win, if Finch brings in the Sneasel here. Because Heliolisk has to be sacked, that's obviously the correct play. And then Sneasel can be revenged by Mesprit by either a non-psychic move or U-turn. If Teddeh locks himself into like a non-psychic move on Mesprit, maybe, I don't know, like Signal Beam, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, or whatever, he brings in Sock, which will not be knocked out by any of those moves, and click Knockoff. Knockoff is going to kill Malamar at the HP it's at, and Mesprit has to come in to revenge, but Mesprit has to lock himself into Psychic, and that means that he can't beat the Mantine with Mesprit 1v1. So that's a win scenario for Finch. And if he U-turns into Malamar, Finch still wins by bringing in Sock, clicking Knockoff. He outspeeds and KOs. There's no way he's bringing Mesprit in. And Mesprit, again, has to lock himself into a single move in order to beat both Sock and Mantine. And that is not possible. So if Finch brings in the Sneasel here, he wins. But he brings in Sock instead. And the Sock isn't even Scarf Sock. So this is a terrible misplay on Finch's side. Like, Heliolisk feints to Life Orb Recall, but the damage is already done. Like, this was a terrible misplay. Like, and I don't think Finch can come back from that. He has to let Sock. He chooses to sacrifice Sock in this scenario, and I think Finch still has a chance of winning if Sleep Talk gets Finch can win if Sleep Talk gives Teddeh some terrible roll as well and stuff. But here they trade Energy Ball and Scald, and you can see that Mesprit isn't beating Mantine 1v1 without being locked into Thunderbolt. So yeah, so Teddeh switches into Malamar, which is the correct play, I think. And yep, and here Teddeh goes for the superpower, which is obviously the right play, because even if he stayed in with the Mantine, like he gets this like one special physical defense boost, and that way Sneasel will kind of struggle to kill him. But Finch just switches into Sneasel, expecting the rest from Teddeh, but that doesn't end up working out in his favor. So Finch is going to lose the game, like, because his Mantine cannot beat the Malamar. And even if it did, like, Mesprit is there as well. So yeah, so sorry about that. I mean, the game's not quite over yet, but the game's basically over at this point, because he, like, see, Skull's doing like 20%. There's no way Finch is knocking out this Malamar. So good game for both sides. I didn't make this video like to like take away from Teddeh's victory, or I also didn't make this video trying to say like, oh, Finch is bad, like he choked, whatever. Like I mean, if you saw my last video, like I pointed out like all the chokes that I made, and for both sides, and I just wanted to like point out that, I mean, Finch could have won like nearly 100% from that position, barring massive hacks. And I mean it when I like say I don't want to like take away from Teddeh's victory, because he played very well. Finch also played very well, like throughout the game, except for that last misplay with the Sneasel and Sock. But I guess, yeah, that was a good game for both sides. Other than that, and like, I understand, like, there's, like, I'm having the benefit of hindsight. When I play games, I make misplays too, because, like, you're so focused on, like, you sometimes overlook things. Like, there's a timer, like, you're excited, like, you're nervous, I don't know, like, there's a lot of factors. And you're, like, and there's a lot of different factors, and, like, he doesn't know if Mesprit has Thunderbolt or, like, Energy Ball or whatever, or Dazzling Gleam. Or it could have even be like physical. Like, there's a lot of different factors that make thinking through everything a lot more difficult. Like, it didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter what Teddeh's Mesprit set was in this game, but like a lot of other things, a lot of other factors make it difficult to analyze the game like that when you're actually playing the game and there's adrenaline going through your body. So even though there was a slight misplay, but I would say there was a game pretty well played by both sides. Alright, so that's it for this upload. So see you guys.